But
We're live, man. This Life in Tech episode. Are we on 42 or 43 now? I don't remember. Early 40s. I'm
yeah,
Jason.
and I'm Dan.
We're
So
back again.
last week we answered everything because it was 42. Oh, what a difficult time to try to get this thing up. So Ninja over here sent me like 6 invites, and I had my Surface Pro up. He's like, I've sent you 6. I'm like, I know, I got all 6 to my phone. I had the Gmail and Hangouts sign up, and it doesn't even show that I got an invite or anything. I'm like, all right, I'm tired. Let me go get my Mac real quick. Get the Mac, first try, bam, done. I'm like, there must be something I didn't install on the Windows tablet,
I
whatever.
don't know, man. Do you find there's all this proliferation of like cloud technology, which I love, right? The idea of I don't need a specific device to use specific apps. I can go anywhere, any computer, and just use stuff. And you know me, like I don't even use email clients anymore. I just use web interfaces because it's way more convenient for me.
Yeah.
But seemingly, what we haven't figured out is like a reliable, consistent syncing experience. I mean, even like with IMAP, with email, which we've had for what, fucking 10 years at least?
Yeah, easily.
I mean, how do you get invites on a mobile device but not to a PC?
It is odd. I have no idea um, how that happened. It's just
Yeah,
weird.
I don't know, man. It boggles my mind how we haven't figured that out yet. And on top of bandwidth issues, because that drives me up the wall.
Oh, don't even get me started, man. It's funny because I mean I still got the the 7th invite to my phone, but when I brought up the Mac, I got the error simultaneously, and then of course I accept the invite on the Mac, and the phone says okay, well it's been answered. I have no idea. I just need to set back up my little tripod for my phone to be the camera because it's it's a little bit better. I think it's better quality.
Well, interestingly enough, man, external webcams, like right now I'm on my old Logitech C920,
Yeah.
not my new one that was on the other computer like last week. And this is magnificently better than the built-in webcam in the 21-inch iMac I'm on.
Oh yeah. I absolutely. Oh, so you went and got
The
an iMac,
I got a grant to do some brain interface research,
right?
and it arrived this week. So as part of that grant, I'm gonna have some video teleconferencing meetings and stuff. So I wanted to test it out.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't go with the Studio Windows. So
Oh,
there
I thought about it, but holy fucking Christ, that thing's expensive.
it is, but it's nice. Uh, I'm about ready to I think buy one for work. Um, I've been digging this Surface Pro. I actually just ordered the Surface Book 2. The specs on it are pretty amazing. The only thing I don't like about my Surface Pro is the keyboard. I mean, I use it more like a laptop, but it's so light. Like if I travel somewhere, well, this thing is coming with me to travel for sure. But going back and forth to work, I'm looking forward to the Surface Book.
Yeah, I haven't tried a Surface Book. You've seen me with my Surface Pro 4.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest with you though, man. And I tested this, man, probably for about a good 6, 8 months consistently. I find myself using my 9-inch iPad Pro with a
yeah,
Logitech case with the keyboard, and the keyboard's not Bluetooth; it just connects right in through the iPad Pro's connector.
yeah, yeah.
Fuck, man, it's a much better user experience for me. Much better.
Well, yeah, with where you're at, but I mean, I'm still in a corporate environment that is not web interfaces everywhere. It's literally thick clients for most things, um, and therefore because of that, the Windows is just that much better.
Hey, what do you?
I
Real
would
quick, because I'll tell you what really pushed me over to the iPad Pro recently. Have you played with iOS 11 much?
no, I mean I have stopped, ever since, for the most part, getting out of the direct mobile space. Yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, been there, done that. I just don't care about mobile.
Yeah, well, here's what really pushed me over the edge back to the iPad Pro and Mac ecosystem was the inclusion of the file manager in iOS 11.
Oh, okay.
Like a typical file explorer. And it's funny, man, because Steve Jobs' idea was that a user shouldn't have to give a shit about a file system, and he's right. You shouldn't have to. But holy Christ, is it way better to be able to manage files directly instead of the clunky user experience, in my opinion, of having a file. Like I'll download an ebook, right? A PDF.
Yeah.
And man, I got to save it to Dropbox, to the Dropbox app. Then I got to fucking export it to. I use KaiBook to read PDFs. Or if I want it in, like if I have an EPUB, I'm almost finished with a book I'm writing, and I've been exporting it into different formats to test it. What a clunky fucking experience, man, in iOS to share files between apps because you don't have an interface to the file system. And now with the file system, it's much more seamless. And I don't know how much of that is because we're trained to do it from like a file explorer type system,
Right.
but fuck, man, it's way better. Anyway,
So on your iPad Pro, can you run full Microsoft Office, or is it, mobile version? Mobile.
no. In fact, I don't use Office at all on it. I mean, I could through, I think, our Office 365 subscription at the school.
So you would use
Um,
Word online, so it might not be bad.
yeah, I find I don't need it, man. I have the OneDrive app on there so that I can interface with some files because I'm slowly getting people to move over to that since, I mean, it's ours, you know what I mean, within the
Yeah.
school. Um, but man, like I use Scrivener for writing,
Yeah.
so that's nice because it's the same interface on all my devices, even Windows. Scrivener's really good about that.
Mhm.
And Scrivener works really well on iOS, which is a new release for them. I have a Markdown editor called Byword I can use. I actually have a GitHub client, so I can use my Git system. The fuck else, man? I really, I don't. I've really gotten away from word processors. When I write anymore, I write in Markdown, which is kind of like a. It's not latex. It's not as full featured as a typesetting language,
All
but
right.
it's not as. You don't have all the bullshit, man. It's just plain text. More like it's a markup, so it's more like HTML. But I can do equations in it and everything, man. And then I use Pandoc, which is kind of like a latex engine to convert over to PDF or I can convert to Doc or DocX.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's just clean, man, because there's no bullshit. It's just a plain text file. I started getting really concerned about, and I think we've talked about this in prior sessions. I started to get increasingly concerned about, 50 years from now, if I want to open a file that I haven't touched in 50 years, how the fuck am I going to do it?
You get one of your interns to open it for you.
That app ain't gonna exist, man. I mean, think about this. When I was a kid, my first computer was a Mac Performa 400, and that was
Okay.
in the PowerPC architecture. And what did we have? Word Perfect? Is that what came with Macs? I don't remember. It was like a word
I remember
derivative.
WordPerfect was a great word processor.
Oh, it was fucking awesome, man. And somewhere around here, think about this. Somewhere around here, I have a diskette
Wait,
with
5 1/4 or 3.5?
3.5. I
Uh,
mean, I have 5 1/4 from when I used to fuck around on an Apple IIe.
yeah, yeah.
But I have 3-inch discs with like papers and essays I wrote and stuff, man, when I was in junior high and high school. It would have been high school. Um, how the fuck am I going to open them?
Yeah, true. Yeah, yeah, I mean, you're not going to get that stuff off those 5 1/4 inch floppies.
No, I mean, first of all, I don't have a floppy drive. I don't think anywhere. But even if I had the drive to get the actual file object, I don't have an app to open that. I better hope there's a converter somewhere.
Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, you might be able to get the raw text.
Well, at least there wasn't all the bullshit XML
Right.
formatting in there like there is with DocX.
Yeah, all the encoding is probably not going to be an issue.
Yeah, but anyway, so over the months and the last couple of years, I've got increasingly concerned about that. So I've just started moving over to plain text. Which,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, man, check this shit out. So the university had some accreditors in for their semi-annual whatever investigations, right? And these fucking cocksuckers only take Word. So I only upload PDF because what's the P stand for? Portable,
Yeah.
right? And it's a consistent experience. Everybody has a built-in reader in their operating system. You don't have to worry about it. And students can't alter the files, so it's clean, right? No, I get an email, dude. You got to convert all your shit to Word. But here's the catch:
You're
they
dealing with.
print it all out. But they print it all out in the hard copy anyway. So who gives a shit? I don't get it, man.
Well, I mean, it's just government. Government says, "Oh, I have to have this as a doc."
Yeah, which I mean, if they were gonna do something electronic with them, whatever, man, I'll capitulate. Because it's actually I use an online web converter. You can just mass drag and drop all the files in there, and it just converts them all at once, and you download them. So it doesn't bother me. But they print them out. I mean, they only review hard copy. So what do they give a shit what the file format is digitally?
Because it's a contract. It has to be in a doc file. I've been working on Word. So how do you add
man?
with Scrivener? How do you add back in all the formatting and stuff like that? It's just plain text. Are you doing?
Well, like, this is one of the reasons why Scrivener works for me. I personally like Scrivener because it's very fast and powerful to do like outlines. It's really easy to create structure for chapters and subsections, or even in a standard paper where you have an abstract, an introduction, method, results, so forth and so on. It's really easy to architect all that out. And in Scrivener, you can write in Markdown, and then you can export in any format you want: PDF, Word, whatever.
Gotcha.
So I don't. And the thing is I stopped doing formatting a long time ago anyway. I don't use any custom styles. I don't use anything past what is just plain text standard formatting.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never. I'm hoping that when I go back to school here, that I won't be having to do a lot of writing.
Well, it is an MBA program. I mean,
yeah, for the MBA.
yeah. Well, I mean, how much writing are you really going to do, man?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. But I just haven't really had, outside of some blogs and stuff that I've written, where I've just been passionate enough about anything in order to want to write or research. So I just haven't. I know at some point I will. I mean, like when I wrote that blog about encryption, I mean, it was something that I was passionate about and still believe. So it made sense. I can write when it's something I care about.
Right.
Unlike you, where you can just write on anything, whether, just the fact that you can write. Me, it's got to be something I care more about, because it takes a lot of time for me. So I'm having to write these essays, which is interesting.
They better be at a goddamn doctorate level, man.
Well, yeah, of course. I haven't lost on any of the teachings from the ninja there. I mean, it's funny when I go back and I look at like my chapter 1 for my dissertation versus like chapter 5, like night and day.
Yeah, man.
In terms of the writing, it's almost like two different people wrote.
Yeah, even in the course of 5 chapters, over the span of time that it takes typically to write them, you can see an enormous amount of evolution.
Yeah. So
in my experience, that's fairly standard.
Yeah. Well, but I enjoyed the dissertation. It took a while. I mean, I wish some of the students at the university would understand it's a game. Don't stop arguing, beat it, and ask the question: is this going to be a material deficiency? Is this going to prevent you from signing off? And if the answer to that is yes, then fix it. If the answer is no, probably not, then move on. Don't argue. Figure out the things you want to argue about, and otherwise, let it go.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of the program, the way it's designed, and we've talked about this a bunch, and we both experienced it, is it's fairly well documented what the minimum standard is.
Yeah.
So, given what other life choices an individual might make, I mean, all you have to do is hit that. Anything past that is because you want to. And there's nothing wrong with any choice, in my opinion, anybody makes based on that, right? I mean, if you want to shoot for the stars and try and crush it, then that's what you do. If you want to hit the standard and move on, then that's what you do. But
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that as I'm going through this process for my MBA application, I made conscious choices while I was in school, full time, while working full time, and not building small companies, but substantially large organizations and startups that took me all around the world. I didn't have a 4.0. I made choice that, okay, I can pass the test. I can get an A on the test. So those couple of hours that I've got, am I going to spend it with my family, or am I going to do the homework? When I know I can get, a B in the class no matter what, and that's all I need. So I'm wondering how that'll play out with some of the MBA aspect, if it'll even matter at all. I mean, this is what's really funny. When I go back and I look at all of my GPAs, I had a higher GPA for the doctorate program than I did for anything else.
well, well,
yeah. I mean, it's funny.
Well, I think part of that, man, is you performed to a level that you thought was commensurate with that kind of work.
Yeah. And it was just funny to me. I'm going, wow, of course, when I went to the Computer Learning Center, which was like, a 2-year college, basically, trade school for computers, I had a 4.0. It was, but then when I finished my overall undergrad, it was a 3.4. And then my master's was like a 3.5, and then the doctorate was a 3.6, 3.63. Whatever. It was interesting looking at this. I'm like, wow, as the competition got more intense, my grade point average essentially got better each time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's just part of your personality, right? As the competition rose, your performance rose commensurately.
Yeah. So anyway, what do we want to get into here? We got the UFC fight. Did you see Conor McGregor's shenanigans last night?
Oh my God, dude. Well, it's because it's an interesting segue when you start talking about decision making and decision making as a science and trying to meet that marker but not go too short because you'll fall short, or go too far past it because then that's wasted energy or labor or money or whatever that translates into. And that was a criticism of GSP, is he always did just enough to win. And boy, we didn't see that at UFC 217. And you certainly don't see that with Conor McGregor. Yeah, I saw a video of what happened, but I couldn't see, maybe because the video is too small, of him actually slapping. I guess it was the ref or the commissioner. I don't know.
Commissioner, he did it in the first video when he tried to climb over the cage into it, and the commissioner came up, and then he slapped that commissioner down from that, and then that's when his buddy jumped over the cage, and then hugged him. But then Conor came back in around the other way and went after that referee. They gave him crap, I guess, a couple months ago or whatever.
Now, I mean, I'm not like breaking news here, but let's not forget that Dana White has booted people from the UFC for slapping refs and pushing officials and shit.
Yeah, but he didn't do it he didn't do it at a UFC event.
No, it was at a fucking Bellator event.
I know, so he did. Conor basically just gave Bellator a ton of news.
Yeah, well.
I wonder, maybe Conor doesn't want to fight anymore. This is his way out.
I'm not going to go in so far as to say that I think he's brilliant. He's certainly learned very fast how to play the fight game itself. You know what I mean? I don't know how much strategy is in it. I mean, he just came out, and I think we talked about this last week, that if he fights again in the UFC, he's going to do it co-promotion. Well, we saw him set that up with this whole boxing bullshit. I don't think he really ever cared about boxing. What he cared about was getting McGregor promotions, right? And he set that up with the Mac Life, and he has this whole industry built around him, which is Floyd Mayweather's blueprint.
Oh, yeah. He literally took Mayweather's blueprint with everything.
Pardon me. And now he has the money to fund it. So He certainly doesn't have to fight for money, but you know, you've been a competitor. And when you're a competitor, especially at that level, well, I mean, we're talking about school. It's the same fucking thing in terms of competition.
Yeah.
It's hard to be away and not do it.
Oh, absolutely. I just don't know. It was a really odd thing, unless Conor believes he's really above the sport now, that he's untouchable.
He completely does.
So,
well, and remember, he tried that bullshit before to feel out how big he was with not going to the press conference, so they pulled him from the card.
Yeah, true.
Wait, and you know what's almost bigger news, man? Did you read this morning that Anderson Silva popped again for banned substances?
I mean, I don't know which one's worse now. I mean, maybe Anderson was always on, dope the entire time. He's just now getting caught.
Of course he was, man. He came from Pride. It was in their Have you seen the Pride contracts? In there, it told them to take steroids.
Yeah, I bet. I haven't seen the Pride contracts, but and here you got John Jones popping hot all the time. Anderson Silva hot all the time. Dan Henderson. It's really weird. I mean, it's either just allow them all to do it, forget the testing, and just open it up. You all want to do it? Go ahead. I mean, that's kind of the way. I mean, you're gonna pay for it in the long run because your body, you're gonna be like Lyle Alzado. You want to do it? You're an adult. Go ahead. I don't care.
Well, isn't it funny though, man? You bring up Lyle Alzado, and that's a great example because it's part of our childhood.
Yeah.
And the media at the time told us that his condition was the result of steroid abuse, but they didn't mention anything about traumatic brain injury. So, honestly, man, do you really think he ended up like he did because of steroids, or do you think he ended up that way from getting smashed in the fucking head, or both?
I think it's both. I mean, the dude was taking in one day more than what you're supposed to take in like a year. I mean, he was taking some insane amount. I mean, it might have been like 1,000 milligrams, which you're like, that's a lot. Because when I've seen it, most of it's like 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams. He was taking 1,000 a day. I don't know if he ever got. I mean, I'm sure he had traumatic brain injury, but he died really young.
Do you remember what he died of? Wasn't it brain cancer or something?
I thought it was brain cancer.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, certainly the science of performance-enhancing drugs is monumentally advanced now compared to then.
So, I don't know, but, so getting into the UFC 217, I thought Bisping had GSP there. I thought he had him going into that, into that second round. He had the timing get down. Things were going good. He got caught, and GSP baited him to get up. And as soon as Bisping tried to get up, it was over. And that rear naked choke was fast.
It was deep, man. You weren't getting out of that. There was no way out of that.
He was done. But what's interesting there is that was as fast as GSP in the entire fight. He threw on that rear naked choke, and it was in deep and done.
GSP did an interview with Ariel Helwani yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
And he breaks down his rough abstract strategy round by round. And what they came in with, the adjustment Bisping made in round 2 that caused him some issues, and then the counter adjustment GSP made in round 3 that led to that punch and the choke. And it's really interesting. He's a really cerebral fighter, man.
Oh, yeah. He is, what's his name? The other dude that keeps popping hot for Chael Sonnen. He said that, and this is true, this is the worst that we've ever really seen GSP kind of look. And he is still that much further ahead than every other mixed martial artist after taking 4 years. I mean, Michael Bisping is not he's no slouch. I mean, he's a really good journeyman, but he's beat some good names, and he's only lost the big names. So, above average UFC fighter, professional fighter. GSP is just insane. And I like GSP, but I was kind of hoping the brash Brit was going to win. I just like that aspect. And even more surprising was, the fight right before that with Garbrandt and what's his name? Dillashaw.
TJ Dillashaw?
Dillashaw, I thought, was done. When he got rocked at the end of that first round, it was like, I thought it was done. And you see Cody going, I'm going to knock you out this round. And he almost got him again.
Yeah.
And he got caught. Boom. That's all it takes.
I like that weight class, man, because they're small, so they're fast, but they still have power.
Yeah. Yeah. And Cody got caught. And this was great because I kept seeing it. I'm like, what? Like, why are your hands down? Put your hands up. He fights with his hands down at his waist. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you see that in MMA, man, because the way people pick up striking, like from Muay Thai, instead of like classic boxing, is they fight with their hands down and their chins up. Oh, bad combination, man. That's a bad combination.
Yeah. But, overall, and then the women's fight. She looked, I did not expect her to beat
Joanna?
Yeah, didn't expect that at all. And then what did she go? She's like, I'm not going to talk trash at all. That's not who I am. That's not what I'm going to do. She wanted to. I'm not going to buy into it. I know who I am personally, and that's that.
Yeah, and just wrecked her. And what's interesting, man, of those 3 title fights, I think most people expected the TJ Cody fight to be close. It could legitimately go either way. GSP versus Bisping, it was going to be a good fight. I don't think anybody expected Joanna and Rose to be a competitive match at all.
Joanna was a clear favorite. She'd already cleaned out. The whole reason why Rose got the fight is because she'd already beat the top 5.
Yeah.
So you're up. Because she wants to fight, and boom. And Joanna can say she didn't tap. That was a clear tap to me. She tapped via strikes.
Yeah.
Did all she wants, whatever she's got to do to mentally prepare. That was clear taps.
I mean, the simple fact of the matter is she may not fucking remember. Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, when you get rocked like that, you don't remember.
No.
I mean, not everybody does.
No, most likely not. I mean, I've been hit. I've been clipped. And I can't say that I remember those kind of things. I mean, it happens.
No, and it's yeah, man. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that, I mean, no different than Oberyn thinks Stipe. You don't remember, man. That time's gone. It's gone from you. That's scary, man. That to me, well, and that's what I was gonna say. Like with Cody and TJ, I don't necessarily like watching people get knocked out, but I like the fact that element of danger is present. Unlike, I mean, Mighty Mouse is a completely different, and that weight class is a completely different category. I mean,
And Demetrius at all. I can't stand him. I think he's not. I don't think he's really fought very many good people. He's just. To me, he is like Julio Cesar Chavez, right? There's been 100 fights, and most of them were against bums.
well, I mean, there's just not too many dudes down there. In the UFC doesn't. I don't know, man. There's just not that many small human beings.
That's true. I mean, that's like, hey, let's go watch a dog. That's, not that I condone dog fighting, but it's like, let's go watch a dog fight. Oh, what are they? Oh, they're going to be rat terriers.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they are. They're like little terriers going after each other.
That fucking suplex to armbar was sweet as fuck, though, man. That was sweet.
Yeah, but anyway, so getting into I guess we've covered our UFC. I go back to we briefly talked about Equifax lightly last week, and our prediction at the beginning of the year. Unlike other people who predict things, our predictions come true. I think there's going to be more CIOs that wind up getting fired for not properly weighing the risks of an organization. In this case, the CEO left, the CIO left, and the CISO left. And it was great when the CEO basically said, "Oh yeah, we had scanners and they didn't pick it up." That's a flat out lie. I mean, that's that particular signature, for lack of a better word, has been in the products since like January.
Yeah.
I mean, either it was never scanned, which is possible, or it was essentially ignored.
Which I actually, I mean, I'm just completely conjecturing here. I would probably suspect it's more of the second than the first.
Yeah, and this is the other part, and this is one of the things that I've had to explain. Most of the vulnerabilities that come out that wind up making the news, that wind up having the compromise, are not the critical vulnerabilities that get labeled. This thing was like, I don't remember what it was exactly, but it's something like a 6.2 or something, medium. WannaCry, medium. We go back to Heartbleed, medium.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the critical vulnerabilities are the ones that are compromising organizations. It's a exploitable vulnerability, and even though MITRE or NIST or Carnegie Mellon from the CERT organization classifies it because they've taken the complexity level, but risk is subjective. No matter how you swing it, it's subjective. So if you've got publicly facing systems and they've got any type of vulnerability, you know, you're playing Russian roulette.
Well, and at the same time, man, that risk calculation is true for the adversary as well. I mean, what's better for my time if I want to compromise a system? To put the labor, time, and energy and the higher risk of a critical vulnerability, or if I can chain a couple mediums together and essentially result in the same position that I would have been in anyway.
Yeah.
Sure. That's clearly what's happening. And you know, it's not a good analogy to say that there's a natural selection that takes place, but the effect's kind of similar, I think. And that's why I'll make an early prediction, man. Within the next few years, I think counterintuitively, because the intuition is for automation to take up the low skill jobs first, like help desk, right? Human beings will never accept that. We've had automated call systems for fucking decades, and we still don't use it correctly. I think a great place, and my prediction for the next couple of years, is we're going to see automation in this kind of remediation behavior. Because humans are fallible. We don't patch correctly. We don't make good risk-based diagnoses, whereas an AI will. And it's already being deployed in medicine with fantastic results.
Yeah, I agree. It's very simple to do it. I mean, all you have to, especially if you're in an environment like Azure or Amazon, you could literally patch it immediately, patch everything, roll it out to production. If something goes wrong with those individual systems, you can just take the previous instance you had and make that primary again. Like, we're literally talking seconds. Enough time for someone to refresh their browser and the problem is fixed. So,
well, and we've had the technology for a decade to push updates to a client instead of forcing them to refresh. I mean, we can do that.
Yep.
And you know, the big advantage with an AI is, because I do think it's more of a case of the latter, where people just get cognitively overtaxed. That's a failure of us as humans in our biology right now. And until we get augmented, why wouldn't you use an AI?
All
it's
true.
The perfect place for it.
I'm all for it. I mean, we know that the likelihood of a system to be compromised by a 0 day is small. It's always, not always. It's an overwhelming majority of it being the half-day exploit. And for those that don't know what the half-day is, it's when a vulnerability exists and a patch exists and no one patched it.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, because it's just another bit of information that a human has to consume and do something with and make a decision based on. And I mean, Dude, I mean, you're a corporate executive. I mean, how honestly, how overflooded on a daily basis are you with just information? Not even specifically cyber information, just information.
It's a ton. I cannot go through it all by myself, and it doesn't help anything that at least a couple of people, like one who's specifically watching right now trying to troll me, is just not very mentally mature. So I have to babysit this person all the time. Outside of that particular individual, um, it's an overwhelming amount of data. I mean, we take a look at Microsoft Patch Tuesday, and to look through all of the patches that come out, and then they don't do the same thing for SQL Server for whatever reason. SQL Server is on a different patch cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it it's a lot in that, and then I've got all the third-party patches I have to worry about: Java, Adobe, Adobe Reader, Flash, all these other custom third parties that are out there that we've got. It's a lot of data, and so I have to rely on a tool in order to assimilate all of that. On top of, I mean, I have to also be taking a look at what about the other technologies that we're in. It's too much, so you have to figure out very quickly how are you going to weed out data that is more than likely not relevant.
Yeah. So I don't know what more you have to say, but I do have a question for us, and I don't know that we're going to answer it today. It might be good for the next week, but tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, sure, man.
At what point do you think it might be a good idea to change, and this would be a change to the legal system, at least to start with, whereby we, either as an individual or an entity, are allowed to attack back?
It's tough, I think, because how do you know who you're attacking? How do you
You
know that?
don't.
Yeah, and that's probably the toughest thing is that attribution. Um, but I do believe that we're getting closer to that, and I think the same, we'll say, burden will be put on when it comes to self-defense. At what point have you gone past the line of self-defense? Like, the whole rule of thumb is someone attacks you, you can defend yourself, you can stand your ground. You hit them, they're on the ground, that's fine. They get back up, you can put them back to the ground. But if you follow them to the ground and continue to beat them, now you've gone beyond the aspect of self-defense. So if we take that and apply it to attack back, and let's say you attack back and you find out, oh my gosh, this is a 90-year-old grandmother. It probably wasn't her, and that machine is a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mule, whatever analogy you want to use, and you stop, no problem. But if you keep going because you did not use any self-restraint, then I think companies will wind up being held liable. But I have no issues with the attack back at all.
Well, in our legal system, at least in meat space, affords for a preemptive attack if there's an imminent threat.
And what
Right?
happened?
I mean, I don't have to wait on somebody to punch me. I mean, that's a fucking urban legend. I don't have to wait for somebody to hit me to hit them,
No.
as long as there's an imminent threat to life, or exactly what you said. But you are right. You have to have a reasonable conclusion to it. No different than you see this all the time with people that get robbed at a convenience store and then they shoot the guy in the back as he's running out the door. That doesn't work too well.
Yeah, no. And then the other part, which I'd love to, we should definitely explore this more, is what happens if you attack back and you just attack the nation? Is that an act of war?
Right.
Are we now at war? I don't know the answer. That's beyond my legal expertise. But then again, if they came in first, is that not an act of war?
Well, right.
But, yeah. I think we should definitely explore this next week a little bit more. The attack back, I think, is just going to continue to be more and more in the news. It's already started.
Well, and Right, and I think maybe some of the idea, at least that I've thought about, and I think other people think about this too, is it could be a deterrent. I mean, we saw that with the Cold War and nuclear weapons. I mean, we can't. It's exactly why there's a proxy war in Syria, because major nation states don't want to fight each other because of the escalation.
Yeah, true. True that.
At least in part. I don't think that's. I'm not naive to think that's all of it, but it's at least in part a good bit of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
All right. I think we got 43 in the bag.
I think so, man.
And evidently consistent, especially compared to the present we have now. 43 looks pretty good.
Jesus Christ, man. I don't even know what to say anymore, man. I wake up this morning and Anderson Silva's popping hot for PEDs. Now George Takei has sexual harassment. Louis C.K.'s career's done.
And President Trump believed Putin.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, man.
I believe him. He told me. He shook my hand, looked me in the eye. I did not do it.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Exactly. Oh, all right.
Now, wait. Let's finish on this. Do you think Bill Clinton said that because he really believed he didn't have sex, or because he didn't believe she was a woman? Like, what was the rationalization in his mind that clearly he was telling the truth in his mind? You know what I mean?
Well, I guess based on his definition that since there was no conclusion, then it wasn't sex. He never finished. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is or not, but that's what I remember when they were going back through the whole legal aspect of that definition. That was kind of what I remember them saying is the reason as to why it was not sex. But I don't know. We'd have to look. I think that's what comes to mind.
Yeah. All right, man. So that's it. Let's regroup next week. We'll talk about Attack Back. I want to talk about Twitch and live streaming because there's some interesting shit going on. It'll get us into Twitter and Twitter verification. I don't know if you caught some of that shit this week.
Yeah. There was one guy, he's like, hey, I've got a blue check, therefore it gives me authority. It doesn't give you any authority. It just, what are you talking about? Anyway.
Cool. All right, guys. Next week, same time. Bye.